time for Pawn of the Dead. Join us!
Hello and welcome to Pawn of the Dead, the internet horror film club that nobody asked for. I am your host, Nicholas, and as always, I am joined with the final girl, Natasha.
Oh, hi.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
This is fun. If you guys are interested in getting a little bit more from us, such as picking a movie once a month or seeing our lineup for the whole month, join our Patreon. All the other links for our socials are in the description below. This week, we are going over The Invisible Man from 2020. It's considered a science fiction horror film written and directed by Leigh Whannell. This one's loosely based on H.G. Wells' 1987 novel, which is a reboot from the 1933 film. So there's a long history of this movie. This one, however, stars Elisabeth Moss as a woman who believes that she is being stalked and gaslit by her ex-boyfriend, who is played by Oliver Jackson Cohen, after he acquires the ability to become invisible.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. So, prior to homework this week, what is your history with this movie?
I only know of it from it being like an old movie. I didn't realize this was an H.G. Wells book. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I just know of it that it's a classic. I was surprised that there was a remake.
Yeah. H.G. Wells put like this out and The Time Machine and the like. Like I've got his collected works over here. But yeah, I vaguely remember seeing one. I think it was from the 50s. When I was younger, like the Universal monster films, right? Like I'd seen all of that stuff, and this film was Universal was going to do that again. They had like the dark universe that they were going to try and do, and it was like Dracula Untold and The Mummy, but like those movies didn't do so well. So then Universal was like, we're not going to do a universe thing anymore because they were going to be connected somehow.
Okay.
So this was the first one that they were just like, we're not doing it connected. So Leigh Whannell, director, writer of this, we have touched on some of his stuff in the past. He has worked a lot with, good old what's his name?
Oh, we love what's his name.
I know, right? James Wan, Jesus Christ. James Wan. So he got his start with James Wan. They co-wrote and directed, he co-wrote Saw, The Conjuring, Insidious, and the like they worked together a lot. This is one of the few films though that Whannell has directed. He directed this, and he directed Insidious Chapter 3. He did a movie called Upgrade, and his most recent thing that he did in 2021 was he directed the music video Ceremony by the band Deftones.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's developing a few other things. There's a Wolfman movie that's supposed to be coming out that he directed, The Green Hornet and Kato, and then a TV series adaptation of his movie Upgrade. So Leigh Whannell is mostly known for being a writer. Like that's his bag. He's got like 24 different writing credentials and stuff like that for films. So this is his writing and directing together. So it's not a singular vision, but I always look at that writer director.
Yeah. It
means you wrote it, and now you're directing the cinematographer and everything to do it. We're making it this way.
Okay.
So, I see some grimace in that face.
I'm sure he's a great writer.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have some problems with this movie.
Okay. All right. Very interested to hear that as I end the call.
And click.
So, this movie came out in 2020. What do you think its budget was?
I mean, I nailed it last week. I'm not so sure if I'm going to be able to do the same this time. The budget for this movie was $73 million.
Divide that by 10.
$7 million.
Yeah, this movie was made for $7 million, which is crazy to me. Like, I can't believe that this was made for $7 million, considering this was made, granted, we're not talking about inflation, but this movie was made for less money than Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, wow.
I always go back to that. It's like, how the fuck did that movie cost that much money?
Pee Wee Herman was a hard sell, apparently.
I guess everybody wanted Pee Wee. So, yeah, so it came out on a $7 million budget. How much do you think it made in 2020?
Are we counting for the pandemic? Was this released into theaters?
It was released into theaters, and it got released. They actually pushed it forward instead of pushing it back. They pushed it forward because of restrictions being lifted. So more people were able to go to theaters and stuff like that. But that could be something to keep in the back of your head. You know, it was during the pandemic.
It made $72 million.
Just sticking with it.
Just sticking with it.
Well, in the United States and Canada alone, it made $70.4 million and $74.1 million in other countries for a worldwide of $144.5 million.
Oh, okay.
You literally jumped in shock. Oh, shit. I didn't know they made numbers that high.
Because I didn't add those two numbers together. I was just like, oh, 74 million. Great.
Yeah, you were like, I did it. Oh, wait, other countries. Yeah. Oh, it made more.
Yeah.
And it literally did not click with you until I said the 144. It's like the other countries was like, oh, cool. That's the same number, damn near. Oh, wait, we add this. Again, you work in the education system.
Not a math teacher. Which is posing really challenging right now because I have to teach Wyatt how to do long division. Oh boy.
Fun.
He's struggling. I'm Googling how to do it. It's great times.
YouTube's got a bunch of tutors and teachers on there that can help break stuff down. So I'll give you some pointers on how I helped Sydney and Wesley when they're currently with Wesley. Anyway, so to give you kind of like a picture of the 2020, we have just been there, right? Because we just did Psycho Goreman and stuff, but we'll just touch base because it does matter for one thing. Horror films that came out this year, the box office, you had The Empty Man, Freaky, Come Play, The Grudge remake that I still have no idea that it happened, Brahms the Boy 2, Gretel and Hansel, The Turning, New Mutants, Fantasy Island, and the #1 horror film for 2020 was The Invisible Man. So this is the film of 2020 for horror. It did not make the top 10 list though for the year. It looks so for that we have, is this the right year? I think so. We're gonna say it is because that top one I believe came out in 2020. I looked something up wrong this morning and now it's in my head that everything's wrong. I accidentally typed in 2022 one time and I was like, what? That didn't come out that year because it was like nope, and I was like, no, that's not right. So The Croods, A New Age, A Little Red Flower, Jang Zaya, Doolittle, Sonic the Hedgehog, Tenet, which I've heard you talk about Tenet, I believe. I've never seen that film. It was the 5th highest grossing film of that year. It's
very good.
Is it? My People, My Homeland, Bad Boys for Life, The 800, and then #1, I saw this in theaters twice, Demon Slayer the movie, the anime movie. I went once by myself and I went once taking the kids, and it was dope. But yeah, that was that was #1. Yeah, the #1 worldwide grossing film for that year was an anime movie. That anime is pretty dope. I like me some shonen anime from time to time, and it's actually usually during the winter Like, I don't have anywhere to go, so it's just like, I'll fucking bust out a couple seasons of some random ass anime. That's what I end up doing. But so talking about this film, during production, Leigh Whannell would work with Elisabeth Moss, our lead character, to make adjustments to the script to better portray a woman's perspective, which I thought was pretty cool because, like, it's that whole thing of men writing women, and I feel that it definitely has, it definitely feels like how a woman would probably react and all that stuff. And I'm not saying like women be crazy, but like, you know, like it seems definitely from a female point of view. That's me as a man. So that doesn't really say much of anything.
But just the fact that everyone was against, in air quotes, that they were just brushing it off. Yeah, that definitely translated. Yeah,
like going into this, my history with this film is I'd never watched it, but the only thing I knew about it is it was gaslighting the movie. This movie is just, it plays in gaslighting, and that is 100% the case. Like, all that being said, if you haven't watched this movie, if domestic abuse and coercion and manipulation and stuff like that are triggers for you, don't watch this movie. That literally is the movie. So I can see this movie literally being very problematic for some people. The people that Leigh Whannell did not think it would be problematic to were the people, I'm looking up the name of it now, people that have the phobia of small holes being clustered.
Yep. I hate that.
Did that
like the seed pod things, and it's all
trypophobia, an aversion or repulsion to objects like honeycombs and sponges that have repetitive patterns or clusters of small holes. He did not expect that to be a trigger, and we'll go into that a little bit later when we get into spoiler territory. But yeah, like that's like oh my god, I'm looking at a picture right now of someone's hand. Honeycombs and everything were fine. I was looking at that, but it was a human hand that was all like,
nope, stop. We're good.
I'll send it to you in the messages.
Just thinking about it is giving my hands, like making my hands sweaty.
Hands sweaty, mom spaghetti? Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah.
Images.
Stop.
You know what? I was going to send it to you.
No, please don't. I can picture it. I don't need to see it.
Okay. So,
we're good.
Yeah, I ended up watching this on Tubi because the internet lied to me. It said it was going to be on Amazon, and then I had to watch it with fucking ads.
Yeah.
Which really kills like tension and stuff like that. So, I watched this last night with Steph and Noelle, and it was very funny every time it would come in because it was just like Noelle's like really into it, and then it's just like, buy Clorox wipes, and she's like, oh god damn it.
We were starting to get, because I did watch it on Amazon through Freevee, and we were getting like Amazon toy ads, which was really weird and off, like not even off, like on topic at all.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie at least had better breaks having to watch it with commercials. Sometimes it's garbage. This one, it was at least at scenes.
Yeah, sometimes it's in the middle of someone talking. So the killer was, buy this toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, the initial idea for this movie, before Leigh Whannell got on and everything, was they wanted, I believe he was attached to it back as early as like 2018, 2017. The lead male role was supposed to be Johnny Depp. And then something happened there. And then it was going to be Alexander Skarsgård.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would have been fucking really good. And then they ended up with their male lead being played by Oliver Jackson Cohen, which he did a really good job in this movie, I felt, for as little as you see him. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But
I was wondering who you were talking about, who the lead male was, because it could have been Aldous Hodge or Adrian.
True.
Because he's in the movie more.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, but is he? Which we'll get into. But there are some things in this that I can say without, like, it's the Invisible Man, right? You know what, like, the idea. So, like, saying that somebody is invisible is not a spoiler, right?
Right.
There are some really cool shots, though, in this, non-spoilery and stuff. But, like, the way that they're shot outside of rooms and stuff is because that's James' point of view. Like, you're looking. Oh. Well, and more interestingly, it's not necessarily that you're looking through his perception. The camera is supposed to be behind him, so you're looking through him, is what Leigh Whannell had said. So
it's Adrian's perspective.
Yeah, what did I say? James?
Oh,
yeah, James.
See,
Sorry.
Exactly. James is in the movie more. No, we hear her talking to him more.
No, the reason James is in my head is because that name has been ruined. Yeah, this movie has been ruined that name has been ruined forever because of Infinity Pool. James! Like, every time that name comes up, it's the name that's going to stick in my brain.
And that's how you're going to say it or hear it.
And we talked about, exactly. And we just talked about Alexander Skarsgård. So if you want to hear our take on that, our episode back in the archive there, you can check that out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it was good. I think that was a Tasha pick.
It was.
So Rotten Tomatoes reported that 92% of 422 reviews of the film were positive, with an average rating of 7.7 out of 10. The site's critics consensus read that the movie. All right, I'm waiting for your rebuttals. Are you ready? Smart, well acted, and above all scary. The Invisible Man proves that sometimes the classic source material for a fresh reboot can be hiding in plain sight. As of 2022, Rotten Tomato ranked it as the ninth best horror film of all time.
Oh, wow. See, here's the thing.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, I really, really liked the concept. It's not the writing that I have a problem with. A lot of this movie was extremely tense, was very I felt a lot of this movie, but there are so many plot holes. There's so many little things in it that I couldn't turn a blind eye to because it was just so noticeable. Okay,
that's interesting because I didn't like. It's funny because I'm usually the one that's like, this thing and that thing, you know. I didn't really notice too many of them, and maybe it's because like what happens so many times on here, we watched two separate movies. Maybe there's something that I missed, or maybe there's something that you missed. So yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. But the music for this film was composed by Benjamin Wallfish, and I loved the score to this movie. Like, I felt like it did a really good job of not being bum bum bum, but still giving that feel, which I thought was really nice. That was something I noticed very early on with it, was just like the kind of real low rumbly score, and then it would swell when it needed to. And I thought I think it was possibly one of the most effective parts of the movie.
Yeah, I think it evoked that her feelings of dread and somebody's watching me, but it wasn't giving away anything.
Correct.
It wasn't it got big and loud and then something happened. It was just her tension building, so the music was building, or the music was getting very bassy. Mm-hmm.
And there was another thing that we will get into more, but I'm going to just touch on because we're talking about the sound and stuff, is the sound of chittering sound of insects. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that through the film?
I didn't take it as insects, but I did notice the sound.
Okay. So we'll talk about that more.
We can get into that later.
Yeah, we're going to start getting into that right now. So if this is your first time listening to us, hello and welcome. From this point forward, we are going to be openly discussing The Invisible Man from 2020, directed by Leigh Whannell. If you have not seen this film, it is available on Freevee or Freeve or however the fuck you want to say it. And I think you can rent it for like $3 or something. So if you don't want commercials, I would suggest watching it without commercials, just because it is a tension piece. Like if you're watching like Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and there's commercials, it's not going to be that big of a deal because it's more about like the ridiculous quips and kills, right? But this movie is about like kind of dipping you in this pool of tension and paranoia and stuff like that. So I would suggest if you get a physical copy or something, even like a rent, check that out. Anyway, from this point forward, there's going to be spoilers and spoilers and spoilers. At the end of the episode, we are going to give out homework for next week. So without any further ado, let's disappear into The Invisible Man.
If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
That being said, Natasha found a 10 out of 10 on the interwebs. Would you like to tell the people this 10 out of 10 that you yourself wrote?
And then found on the interwebs?
Yeah, you posted your own thing. Yeah, you wrote it, posted it, and was like, oh yeah, I forgot years ago I wrote this 10 out of 10.
Right. Just came out of a showing and absolutely loved everything about this movie and how the story evolved. The acting is superb and subtle camera work keeps you in suspense and staring into the dark corners, wondering if there is something to be seen. I agree with that. I really enjoy movies that do that.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
The movie does a fantastic job of not insulting the intelligence of the audience and instead puts you directly into the shoes of the lead actress. The pacing is greatly appreciated, as from the title alone we understand what's going on, and it moves fast enough that the 2-hour runtime feels much faster but not rushed in any way, as once the story begins to gain speed, it continues to a well-deserved and satisfying ending. The cast is spectacular and delivers a top-notch performance. If you are a fan of suspense, this is exactly the type of movie for you.
Yeah, this movie definitely walks that line of is it horror or is it not horror? You know what I mean? Because it is so much just like about suspense and stuff like that, even though there are definitely times of horror in it. And also horror is it, I always get this wrong, objective, subjective? It's the one person. Subjective. I'm a fucking moron, but it's subjective. Like,
I use those terms so much in work. Yeah, subjective is when the person gets to decide whether or not, and you have opinions about it.
Because like the idea of manipulation and all that stuff is more horrific to one than it is the other. So it's one of those things. Like, it definitely, it's a horror film. It's a sci-fi horror film too, which like I'm always about.
And when it comes to the horror aspects of the movies, those are honestly the least scary parts for me. When the action was happening, those are the bits that I didn't really care for.
So the dinner scene you didn't care for with her sister? You thought that was just kind of boring?
I liked that one.
I was going to say.
and by liked, I mean, ooh, that got me. Yeah. But
because of how abrupt it is.
Exactly. The one that I really didn't like was just like the attacks.
Oh yeah.
And like the chase. That was
the attacks were cool, but what's the wording? So like how they did that was with people in like green bodysuits and then like dropped them out and digitally replaced and all that stuff, which is cool because then you actually get proper reactions from the actress and stuff like that, like how she's going to be holding on. So you get that, but the CG to mask made things look weirdly blurry at times, and I didn't so much care for that, but I like the idea. Like, I thought for a $7 million budget, they fucking did amazing in that, right?
Yeah.
Initially watching it, I was like, oh, that's not that great looking. And then while I'm doing research, it's like $7 million. How? Like, how the fuck did you do that? Especially like some of the camera work in this, they had like special rigs that were like robotic camera rigs. So they could program the movements of the cameras so they could do the same movements through things multiple times to be exact, so they could cut things in and out and all this stuff, which is, again, $7 million budget. They fucking put their money where it needed to be put. They got a very strong female lead in Elisabeth Moss, and then just went, we've got to fucking make this work really well. And I think they did a great job.
My review of this review that I just read.
Yes.
I do think that they say it moves fast and fast enough, but I think that because it moves so fast in certain parts, a lot of things don't add up timeline wise.
Okay.
That's my biggest critique. I don't know how detailed we want to go, but there are some times like in I'd say the end of the second act into the third act, it's sped up, and it's so sped up.
Okay.
That's when I start going, well, how did that get here in time? What about this that happened before? And now that isn't matching up. And we can get more in detail later, but like when she's in her room, when the orderlies are coming, all of that was just very rushed and muddled. And that's when I got taken out of it.
So we're in spoiler territory and stuff. You know that there's two people in suits the entire time of the film, right?
I figured that out at the end.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I was like, well, that explains like how things can be. How did that happen?
That explains one thing, but I'm talking about things that we're seeing.
Oh, okay. It was just one of those things like, how did this happen? I was like, well, there's a huge twist that like everybody in the living room when that reveal happens, when like I literally was like, it's old man Jenkins when they pull the mask off of him. But right after saying that, I was like, oh shit, that's not Adrian. Like, that was pretty cool, but we'll get there. But yeah, so all right, 1 out of 10. Are you ready?
I am.
Did you write this one? Because I see like the first sentence. There is no backstory, and it's unbelievable that the main character would have been involved with a rich millionaire genius as a kept woman that he controlled.
I did not write this, and I think that's bullshit because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Continue.
At least make her. Oh, this was written by a man. At least make her attractive. I didn't read this one at all. At least make her attractive to make it believable.
Oh my god.
Tasha, what are you sending me? What did you write?
Oh man.
Couldn't get past the fact that no one would fake their death and give up everything to stalk this mousy woman.
She even asked that question halfway through the movie, but this guy has no right to say that.
If you're a kept wantingly perfect thing to this guy, think more of the character from Gone Girl. Besides that, there are too many unbelievable parts, as in she runs into the dog bowl, decides to get fully dressed before escaping, goes back for the dog, and her sister doesn't know enough to immediately take off when she's picked up after escaping. Nice plan. Also, when her friend's daughter is hit by quote unquote her, how she's about 8 feet away. Expected better, and I'm only halfway through the movie. So this person wrote a review and hadn't even finished it at that point.
The first part of the movie is the best part of the movie.
Well, not to this person, because
not to this guy.
Because Elisabeth Moss is a fucking ogre to him.
And that's why. And also, how many times do you kick a dog bowl just when you're not trying to escape a place?
I kick dog bones in my house probably daily, like just walking through.
Exactly. And if her sister and she don't have the best relationship, or if you're in a challenging relationship, you're most likely not going to divulge everything if you feel that you're this kept, as he said. Mm-hmm. So you're going to act like everything's fine. I will say, though, the reason that he wants her is extremely paper thin with his power and all that stuff. It's
it's kind of bullshit where it's like the only reason he wants her so bad is because she doesn't want him. And I'm like, that's kind of bullshit.
Dude,
like,
no, that's a legit reason.
I understand, but like, why her, like, to that, like, of all the people, like, it is kind of paper thin in the sense of like, this motherfucker is going to go to these lengths only, like, there's no other girl that doesn't want him. You get what I'm saying? Like, that kind of idea, like every other woman wants to be with him, is like, that's why I'm saying it's like paper thin.
At least superficially, every other woman has wanted him, and he has pushed those other women aside. This Elisabeth Moss, Cecilia, is a challenge for him, and she's the one that has stepped up to him and says, I don't want to do this anymore, which then completely destroys his ego, which then, I want you solely because I can't have you, because he is a raging narcissist with millions of dollars. So that component of like, to go to these lengths, that part doesn't really like matter, because this is just his life.
The go to the lengths is because he's basically, I don't even know how you describe this. We're going to call it rape, because she was on birth control, but he knew that and took that away to forcibly, it's forcibly impregnating.
To get her pregnant, yeah.
So that, I think, is more of why he's so hard up to keep her to the lengths that he's going, because he wants his kid, right? Or their kid, whatever, right? But
his kid. Yeah, it's all about just control. This is mine. I want to keep it. I'm not going to take care of it, but it's mine. Therefore, I'm entitled to have it.
Yeah. So.
So that's why.
But yeah, I do agree. There are like, I still, like, you can say it however you want. I still think that it's just kind of like very, what is it? Like, it's like a trope almost. You're powerful, and I only want the one thing I can't have. So like, that's where.
But it's a trope because it's real. It's a trope because it is something that happens to this extent. Of course, to this extent, it's not.
I'm not saying that it's not believable. I'm saying that I would rather it be something more interesting. That's not interesting to me. That's just like, I just want you because I can't have you. I'm like, Jesus Christ. This is like every fucking character in like 50 Shades of Grey kind of stuff. Like, that's like how it feels. And I've not watched 50 Shades of Grey, so like, don't at me. But like, it feels like that, like Twilight and stuff. Like, and I know that that's not how that works, but like that weird dynamic of, I want you, I can't have, brooding, but then mixed with a nice mixture of domestic violence.
And that's where that I want you, I can't have you comes from, because it was a slow process. It was a frog in a boiling pot of water. Yeah. It happened over time, which she described.
She does talk about that.
And it's when she's no longer giving him what he wants is when it becomes a problem. He's controlling. She's, I don't want to say allowing it, but she's doing what he wants without pushback. And then when she starts to push back is when he gets angrier and angrier and angrier. She then leaves and shit explodes. He has essentially a huge hissy fit because he can't have what he wants.
So is this movie not only gaslighting the movie, is this alpha male hissy fit the movie too?
Yeah. This is
pseudo alpha male.
Yeah, this is big ego, small man,
small penis. On today's episode of Big Ego, Small Penis. So you could double feature this with Gerald's game, really.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is just his ego is fractured, and this is the result of it. And he just happens to be a multimillionaire, brilliant scientist, so he can do this and just torment and keep her and just ruin her life because she told him no.
Okay.
That's the movie.
That's the movie. So going back to her escape, okay? I laughed hysterically at her escape because like she's like, oh, I'm gonna let the dog free, and then she has to jump a wall to get out. So I'm like, that dog's still walled in there. It's like you really helped him out.
I thought the same thing. And it's little things like that I have a problem with the movie.
Yeah, but like it's just one of those things where I was able to just kind of like laugh about it and then move on. So let's talk about previously. It was touched on the way this movie is shot, right? So Leigh Whannell used a lot of like smaller lenses to make rooms look bigger and stuff like that, and then use negative space. Use negative space to make you feel like she's not alone a lot, which is fucking phenomenal. It does a great job. It basically makes it that like every doorway is Adrian, is how it feels.
Yep.
You know, so you're like always like, oh fuck. And I think the first time that you witness him, as far as I'm aware, right? Because there's probably a million times that he is there and there are clues that he's there that you just miss. And we'll touch on that a little bit in a second. But when the stove gets turned up, or the oven, or the stove gets turned up, and then there's the fire, is because like I literally rewound it because it happened, and I was like, oh my god, did you see that? Noelle's like, no, what? I was like, rewound like 10 seconds, and she's like, oh, the fire went up. I was like, he's there, something's there. She's like, oh no. And like, so that was cool. I really liked that kind of way. It wasn't so in your face, you know. I thought they did a really good job of that.
Like that could have been just the grease catching on fire. Like,
correct.
And that's why the flame got bigger, like in time. So if you're not really paying attention to it.
It's just that little blue flash. You see the flame get bigger and you're like, oh fuck, okay. But the thing that we talked about earlier that I didn't even actually know. I didn't hear it, and I have the movie pretty loud. But like the sound of like chittering throughout the film, that is Adrian Suit's cameras adjusting and stuff. And I didn't pick that up in the movie. I'm going to have to rewatch it sometime to see, like, does that happen a lot prior to you seeing it happen on the suit?
I didn't notice it until after that fact.
Okay.
So everything like, before. So I would be curious too to see, because before then you don't know how he's being invisible or what's happening.
Correct.
It wasn't until after I saw the suit that I picked up on the little chatters.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I'm going to have to go back and like watch the first half of the film to see if you do hear those kind of, because that would be so cool if it is just set in there like real deep in the back and you just kind of hear it like down the hallway or whatever, right? So
because I'm so invested on like the visual of that, where I'm looking for something, I'm not paying attention to the sound.
Yeah. What was the movie that we just watched recently that I was just like, it's not about what's like right in front of you, it's what's behind. It was just something that we watched recently.
Long Legs.
Long Legs. Yeah, it kind of has that feel where, you know, it's got these wide shots and everything, and you're just like, there's more Transformers. It's more to meet than meets the eye coming on here, you know. So let's talk about Tom Griffin. So the brother, right? He does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie because he is basically the proxy for Adrian. And he does a phenomenal job in this movie because you don't know if you can trust this motherfucker or not until you old man Jenkins him, you know, like, because at first it's like, oh, he's kind of a douchebag and everything. And then it's like, oh, it's his brother. Okay. So then the next time you meet him, he's talking about how he was controlled and all this stuff. You're like, oh, okay, they're on the same playing field. And then it turns out that they're working in tandem to wreck this woman's life, you know, because he's probably getting a big payout from his brother as well, which that's a huge thing that could be weird. The pretending you're dead thing, I don't know how that was able to be done, but it is what it is.
Exactly. She never asked to see like a death certificate. There was never a funeral. There's no like medical examiner. Like, these are the things where it's like she's just,
well,
we'll go with it.
She found out after the fact of it being in the news. So like it was already in the news and everything. So who knows? And granted, like, well, and here's another thing though. If that could have all just been fabricated, right? Or does Does he like do any research? He's got to, because he's a cop and everything, right?
But if he did, it's not in the movie. Because she sees the thing, she sees the note, and then she goes and gets the mail a little bit later on, and she gets a letter saying like, hey, you're in his will. So then they go to the brother/lawyer to go over like her inheritance, essentially.
Yeah.
So at that point, and then he has like the letter that Adrian wrote supposedly to read, and they're just like, no, we don't have to do any of that. Give me the money.
Yeah.
But at that point, and she was still like, he'll figure out a way. So there's all these components where she is completely terrified of this man finding her. At that letter, you would have thought he's doing this. So maybe let's dig a little bit more into, is he really dead?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, someone with that amount of money and that amount of power and influence and stuff like that, it's not too hard to believe that you just got like a homeless guy that kind of looked like you killed him, fucking burn him real quick, like just expedited all of that, right? So there's no evidence that it's not him. Like those are the tricks that money can buy you, that do happen in this world, like that shit kind of happens where people fake their death and just disappear.
But there were pictures of him. It looked like he shot himself in the head.
I know that could all be.
He's just laying on the ground.
That's what I was saying. Like someone that looked like him and everything. They actually kill that guy, right? Like then you have the pictures. I would like to
believe that in modern medicine they would do some type of test to say like, yes, this is the person. But I guess if the brother is the one that has to ID the body, then
maybe
you could just say, yeah, that's him, but it's not him. Okay.
Yeah, because if it's suicide, if it's marked up as suicide and stuff like that, like I'm not a coroner or anything like that. When someone dies, as long as it looks like them and it's ID, they're not doing blood tests and stuff like that, are they? Like to fucking or dental records. That's all stuff that they would do if they felt that there was something else going on. Okay, you're right. And the brother's in on it, so the brother would just go along with it and say that it's the brother. Okay. So that's the only thing I can think of, right? But one thing taken care of. Something that is really interesting, though, is the suit that he's wearing that is actually real. Like that technology, the military actually, and this isn't like deep conspiracy stuff, the military actually owns that technology of actual invisibility camouflage, where it does what that suit does. It brings in information and it pushes out what's behind, and it's so fucking cool. So like the fact that was used as the Invisible Man, I thought was fucking great. Like he's like the head of optics and stuff, so he is like making stuff for the military, as it were, right? So like I really like that aspect where it's not like science gone awry and he's just invisible, because that's how it is in the original one, which we do get two different little Easter eggs about. So like when Cecilia is in bed asleep and Adrian is taking photos of her, when she wakes up she sees the hat and trench coat, which is the original design of the Invisible Man's costume disguise from the original 1933 film and the sequels that go from 33 to 51. So that's like a nice little tip of the hat, pun intended, to it. Yeah. And then also when she is in the hospital and sees the patient being brought out on a stretcher staring at her, his whole head is bandaged up apart from his eyes. This aesthetic of the bandaged head is a reference to the original design of the Invisible Man costume disguise in the original film as well. So like those two things are like nods to those films, which I caught. I was like, oh, that's fucking neat. That's cool. Like I like that, that little like ode to that, But because when I saw the one in Sydney's bedroom with the hat and the trench coat, that's what I initially thought, oh, that's him. She now sees him. But then I realized like, oh, wait, that would be silly if he's like showing himself. Correct. And I think it's in that scene, or it's another bedroom scene like that, the whole blanket scene where he's standing on it. I love that kind of stuff where he's making his presence known, because that's far more terrifying than anything. Because now you like that's where like everyone thinks you're crazy because you're seeing it, and then he's just like, nope, I'm gonna step back here and nobody can fucking see me. Granted, he's got to be a fucking like ballerina because people are like running all over the place and stuff, and he's not getting bumped into somehow. But he lives in the attic, right, or something. Like he puts his phone up there, but then the knife's up there and all that stuff, which I didn't really understand the knife part. Did I miss something with why that knife is up there in a bag?
The only thing that I was thinking is it's the knife that she grabbed for protection, and then she had set it down somewhere. So I think it was just a way of him going taking it up. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
When I saw that part, I was starting to get really confused in that section. I liked it though, because it almost gave the vibe of like somebody frogging in the house. Like he's the person and he's, doing all of this stuff throughout the day without you looking. And then he goes up into the attic and is like just there. So I was expecting to see him up there.
I gotcha.
Frogging is when like you break into somebody's house and live amongst them without them realizing it.
Oh, is this one of your hobbies that you've taken up recently?
Dude. Okay.
So
I'm gonna tell you, and this is private. This is between just you and me.
Oh, okay. No, but everybody plug your ears.
That is something that sounds so awesome to do.
Oh my God.
If I didn't have to worry about the ramifications, like the legality of it, dude.
What
I would love that.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
How awesome would that be?
It would not be awesome.
Oh, so that's just me?
Yeah, it is totally just you.
Okay.
You literally want to break into someone's house and live amongst them without them knowing.
Yes.
You're really into playing hide and seek, huh?
There's that like the id component. Like if I didn't have a moral compass, that would be something I would do.
I'm not sure you do.
I haven't done it.
So you say. This sounds a lot like something like you covering your tracks. I would totally not do it. I mean, it sounds cool. That's not even your house that you're in right now, is it?
That's neither here nor there. Let's move on.
Next question. I'm only here so I don't get fined. So yeah, oh my God. So another little Easter egg. How the fuck do I move on past that?
Just edit it all out. It's fine.
No. Next time I see you, you're probably gonna be wearing a t-shirt with like a frog on it or something. just subtle nods nonstop.
Yeah.
Fuck. Your life is just going to be Easter eggs of you frogging.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, outside of the mental institution, there is graffiti that depicts Billy the puppet from the Saw movies that Leigh Whannell is part of. So, yeah, there's like little... I like that kind of stuff where it's just little bits here and there and everything. There's also a giant fucking frog that is in the movie.
Oh, yeah?
No, there's no frog. I still can't get it out of my fucking head. I just see you in the crawl space, like looking through like the slats of the floor in someone's house, like eating chips, like watching them.
Oh, man. It sounds fascinating.
Is that what you're going to do on vacation? Frogging. What are you doing?
Find an attic.
I'm going to go frogging in Spain.
Like I said, I wouldn't do it because it's illegal.
Delightful. The only thing keeping her from doing the thing is that it's illegal. That's great. The only reason I don't beat my kids is because it's illegal. This is what you sound like.
Oh, God.
The cops are coming. The cops are coming, just so you know. Oh, my God.
I realized it was that weird, but all right.
How didn't you think it's weird? These are very concerning things that you're bringing up. Okay, let's try to get back on. No, go ahead. What do you got?
I blame shows like The Real World and
You are a
Room Raiders.
You are half a step away from blaming Marilyn Manson for Columbine. Like, that's what you're doing right now. I blame the media for making me want to live in the walls of some random stranger's house.
It's early 2000s reality TV. That's the culprit for this.
The next time you come over, I'm going to have to sweep my house to make sure you're not fucking in the crawl space.
I'm not there. Oh my God.
Natasha, I
don't even know where your crawl space is. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would say. Good cover. Okay, so I don't even fucking know. Like, there's some other stuff we could talk about, but my brain is completely broken by frogging right now. So the VFX that they use, they did like the green suits and the, like, you know, they did calculated, planned, like, panning shots and stuff. In most of the camera pans to be specific characters or objects to focus on the audience attention. The other key to making the cinematography scary was to use the negative space, like I talked about. They filmed lots of empty spaces where the character might be, even though you can't actually see him, and the audience is never quite sure if he is actually there or not. Much of this was accomplished through unusual framing, and the viewer assumes he's like standing. Basically, it makes you as paranoid as she is, like, nonstop. Is he there? Is he not there? So it's just completely overdoing you with just paranoia at that. Like, and I guess, like, if you don't give a shit about the movie, like the 1 out of 10 guy, like, like instantly you're probably just like, whatever, this is boring. But if it can hook you with that, it does definitely make you like start looking around like a Where's Waldo almost.
And that's something that I've always had as a child, even, and now, like, that feeling of somebody's watching you, like being in a room at night. I know this goes back.
Someone frogging you.
Exactly. But I can remember being a kid and, like, in our old house when we had the staircase, like, wanting to just like dart up the staircase because I was afraid someone was behind me. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Completely irrational.
Not really when there's froggers out there.
See? Maybe that's why that I want to do it.
Yeah, you want to, like, you want to turn the tides.
Yeah. Or being, you know, a woman sitting in a quiet house, and then you just like look out a window, or you're like, you start to get in your head that somebody's outside looking at you, or just that feeling.
Now, did this movie, like, you're a big fan of like home invasion movies, did this scratch that itch at all? Like, did you?
Oh yeah.
Did you? Okay.
Definitely. And that's why, like, the bits that I really, really liked is that first act. It's so good where you think someone's there, but you can't figure out where they are. But then once he shows himself, that's when, and that's kind of the case in a lot of home invasion movies. It's once the stealthiness wears off.
The paint scene.
Yeah. So the paint scene was really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I jumped. I thought that was really well done.
Oh, God, it's a golf ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, her trying to find him, like, following his tracks. All of that tension is the tension that I love. I had sweaty palms. I was balled up in my seat. Like, I'm here for it. But then that fight scene that ensued after the fact, I didn't care for that. I understand you have to, like, keep the ball rolling. Got to keep the golf ball going. But that part just was lacking for me.
I think it's necessary, though, because it shows you the relationship that she is in. Like, whether you like it or not, I do think that it's just like, oh my God. Like, it definitely goes to that line of just like, holy shit, because he's like fucking throwing her ass against the walls and shit. I didn't so much care for like the picking her up, like basically by the throat kind of thing. That looked kind of cheesy. But yeah, the dragging through the hallway or the room or whatever, I really liked that, even though the CGI was a little spotty, you know. But on a $7 million budget, they fucking did great. Now, the next time that we see him that is fucking awesome is in the hospital, and like the cops are dealing with him and everything, and the suit is blinking in and out. I fucking loved that. I thought that was so cool and well done.
I I agree with that. The part that wasn't well done was when she was slitting her wrists.
Where she did it the hardcore way, you went north to south because she meant
but
business.
there was no but there was no blood. That part was just poorly written. I feel that.
There wasn't, was there?
No, there wasn't.
Maybe the pen didn't get deep enough because all she did, she got here and then he stops her, right?
No, it's here and it's down slowly.
Okay.
She does a little. She gets quite a bit down, and then she realizes he's there. She pulls it out, and it's enough to like stab the suit.
Oh, yeah. I guess so.
So it's a strong enough like fountain pen that, and then it shows at the end that her arm is wrapped. But no other time are we seeing her getting woozy because she's losing so much blood that there's never a trail of blood.
See, and that's where she's doing this. Now we're onto this, and we're getting the crazy suit action, and then that's just pulling my attention from like what you're seeing as like the plot holes or like things that they didn't do well. They just showed me enough glitter here that it definitely like made me not look at the man behind the curtain.
Right. And honestly, had there just been a little trickle of blood, I would have been satisfied. But it was the fact that it was a big deal. Yeah. And then never mentioned again until the very end when you see her arm wrapped when she's back at his house.
Yeah.
But and usually I'm not the one that like points out these plot holes. So for them to be there, they're pretty glaring.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like it's always good to like point those out because like I said, maybe there was something that you missed or that I missed or whatever. And yeah, I didn't realize that so much, but.
And also the security officers in that facility are the most incompetent security officers I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're stormtroopers.
So there's that too.
I think they were on the Death Star.
Yeah. So while his suit flashing was really cool, I agree with that. And her pleading to the officer of like, he's behind you, they were just absolute garbage at their job.
Yeah. Well, they got what they got though. They all got fucked up. I love it like when it's like people getting like shot in the knees and stuff like that. Like I thought that was all really effective and everything, but because that was that in the ladder paint scene, and then the hospital scene are like the two that stand out. There's like the whole what's her name, Sydney getting punched scene. That was, like I understand the point of it and stuff to make her look crazier and stuff, but it felt like we need to do this to remove the father and the daughter. Like that's what we need something to happen, and it is what it is, Because
otherwise, wouldn't you kick her out of the house instead of they go somewhere else?
Correct. Yeah, it was kind of weird, but all in all, though, it was better than I expected.
I agree. Let's talk about how many suits there are for a second.
Okay.
So there's one for Adrian that he already has. He then puts a second one on the little thing.
The little thing. What do you mean the little thing?
It puts on like the mannequin in his lab that she finds.
Yeah.
She then hides that suit for some reason instead of just taking it with her. Correct?
Yeah.
That suit is also there at the end of the movie.
There's 4 suits, aren't there? Like you see them at the very beginning. You see them when she's walking down during her bug out and stuff. You see, I think it's 3 of them on the wall, and then there's what I assume is like his suit, which is the one that's the day they first met to get into and all that stuff. Which another one is Adrian's door passcode to get into his house is 1933, the year the first film was made.
I was wondering if there was significance to that code because they made a point to show it.
Yeah, but I think there's 4 suits in the movie. I think 2 are used at the same time between the brothers, which I know we kind of touched on it. That reveal, I literally was like, oh shit, because I didn't realize there were 2 of them. I think I was like, oh, it's been the brother the whole time.
Right.
Like, he's dead, and now the brother is doing this stuff. And then he's tied up downstairs, and you're like, oh no, wait.
Yeah.
It didn't really, I was like, wait, is he, did he do this? Is he not? Like, I think that they did a real good job of like making you go like, I know one of them's doing it? Is it both of them? Like, wait, I think they did a phenomenal job in that.
And I think the only reason I think that there were two people doing it at the same time was that same scene. So where right before that, where she's going to, I have to keep my thoughts straight, where he's going to kill Sydney.
Yes.
Supposedly. But somebody is already there.
In the hallway.
Yes. So
because she gets like clotheslined as she's running out.
Because at first I was like, there's no way.
Correct.
There's no way that person fell and then was there. So I was like, that's the only spot where, and I think it was done so minutely. If you don't catch that, then you still think that the brother was most likely always in on it instead of them both being there.
Well, I think it was always in on it. And then like that last scene or whatever, where the brother gets killed, considering Adrian is such like a masterful chess player. That's something that like Steph kept saying while we were watching, is like, this dude is like a crazy chess player. Like he's always so many steps ahead. I have a feeling that he set his brother up even to fucking be killed, because then that ties up that loose end and everything. And like that just makes you think that. And those are the things that, like, you know, when you're talking about the fountain pen scene and stuff and everything, it allows me to just kind of go like, yeah, okay, but this stuff here is really well done. And like, I didn't think the movie was scary, you know, but I thought it was tense, and it had me captivated the whole time, because it just keeps making you go, so where is he? Who is he? Mm-hmm. Where is he? You know, nonstop.
I had a thought. How could it be the two of them if he's boarded up behind a wall, but Tom is already dead and they're both in the same spot? So if it is a two-person team, Tom and Adrian are in the same room.
Okay.
They're in the same house at that fight scene. Tom dies. Uh-huh. How does Adrian then get back to his house, board up and tied?
Ooh, interesting.
Is it a editing timing thing with that, where it was, you know, for a long bit of it was Adrian, and then towards this part,
I'd have to rewatch to see exactly what happens in that fight scene to know if it is because it would make more sense if it was just him, if it was just Tom during that fight scene, because that's not the one where she gets clotheslined, is it? That's not the same scene.
That is the scene.
All
before, even in the psych ward, because we know it's Adrian in the psych ward because he says surprise. Yeah. The same way he says it at the end. But what if up until that point, it's all Adrian? It's all Adrian until Tom comes and talks to her about seeing the baby. All of that cat and mouse chase at the psych ward is Adrian. Adrian's then in the car. And somehow at that point, I don't know how this would work once again, timing wise, but then Tom takes over with this idea of Adrian not being dead. He's like captive. That was all planned. Yeah. Because Adrian then wants Tom to die. So that makes Adrian sense. Then kills Tom via them in that fight scene.
Yeah, like suicide by cop, kind of like just put him out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Like of lay him out for slaughter, and then Tom dies, and then it looks like Adrian is the victim also, which is when Cecilia is like, no, this is part of what's happening. Yeah. This isn't okay.
Yeah. And it ties itself up pretty well, like with her coming and like getting the suit and fucking making it look like he killed himself and stuff. I thought that was cool. I like that she went like to that thing of they can't prove it. You know, like they couldn't prove that he was fucking with me, so they're not going to prove that I was fucking with him. I like that kind of thing. Her taking the suit as evidence and just being like, or like hiding the evidence, right? Like taking the suit and just being like, tell me, what did you see? Like to James, and he's just like, it looked like he killed himself. You know, like I like that. And then it has like the woman empowerment ending where it's just her strong staring out into the nothing. They could have done without that. I don't care what movie it is. That shit drives me nuts. But
I loved the dinner scene where she's just like
with her sister.
No, not with her sister. At the end with Adrian.
Oh, okay.
Where she's like, I know you did this. you know you did this. Just say that you did it. There's something so powerful in that of just like, you are so delusional or so controlling that you can't even fess up to now the mother of your child. And I feel like there's some part of it that it almost seems like in that moment she like softens, and for a second you think, because in my mind was like, why are you going back to him? Are you really trying to see if he's a changed man? Yeah. And then clearly he doesn't change, and she's like, all right, this isn't going to work. I'm just going to kill you. I really liked how that went.
I think she went 100% to kill him. Like, I don't think there was a see if he's a changed man. I think because she hid that suit earlier in the movie, so he doesn't know where that suit's at. So she's just going in there, going to play chess with him now, and then she's going to get that suit and then get him. You know.
Okay. But yeah, this scene with her sister, that was heart-wrenching when she's like, I didn't write it. I like the letter. I didn't write this letter. Like, just feeling how defeated and broken, and like there's no way that she can prove it one way or another. That felt like Smile to me. There was a scene in Smile that resonated when she brings like the dead cat and doesn't realize the dead cat's in the box. Yeah. And she's like, I didn't do this. It like had that same vibe, and I got that same feeling of just like, oh God, this is so sad.
The only thing I didn't care for in that scene is like after she cuts her throat, right? After Adrian cuts her sister's throat, she just fucking like, boom, it just falls straight dead. Like there's no, when it happens to Adrian later in the film, he's like still alive for a bit. It's like, oh God, you know, but hers is like comical to me because it's just like, it's so abrupt how it happens. So it's just like knife shows up, cuts her throat, puts it in her hand, and then she's just like, thud. It's just dead.
Yeah.
But
and that just shows you like the quick timing pieces that are a little faulty.
Yeah, but it worked. And then I really liked how everyone around them, because it's quiet how it happens, right? That everyone's like, oh my God, you know, like that kind of shit. And then you see like her getting like taken down and everything from like this interesting angle. It's very like hard to understand what's going. It's not like a wide shot. It's very close up. Like, so I like that. But you got anything else?
We're like trying to figure, like, I like that part because we're trying to figure out alongside her like what's happening. Yeah. So it's a little like muddy in like how we're hearing it and the visual to kind of like convey how she must be feeling, I would imagine.
Yeah. So you got anything else you want to talk about for this movie? All right, let's get into
an overarching. I keep cutting you off.
You're fine. An overarching what?
An overarching just feel of like I fucked up, but I didn't really do it, but everyone thinks I did. Yeah. That feel of like it's on me, but is it really? That. Ugh.
And just a little nod. Zeus lives.
Yeah.
Zeus, the dog lives. So there's a point, right? So, all right. What do you think I'm giving this movie?
I think you're giving it a 6.
Oh, really? I'm giving this a 7.5. Like, I really did like it. Going into it, I was like, oh man, it's like 2 hours long. I don't feel like it felt 2 hours. I think it did a really good job in pacing. It does a good job in its tension and stuff like that. Like I was shocked. Like it's one of those things that I have my preconceived notions of what I like and what I don't like, right? I'm always like, I don't care for Blumhouse films. I'm not a big fan of not big budget, but big studio films. And this is both of those. It's Universal, it's Blumhouse, it's all of that, right? So I was going into it like, I know that people like this movie. I've never seen it. I knew about a lot of it. I'd had spoiled. Like I actually had the sister death scene spoiled in like 10 most shocking scenes or whatever, you know, years ago. So I was like, oh, cool. But that was about it. And I knew it was a camera suit. Like those are the two things that I knew. But I think it did a really good job at all of that stuff. I believe that Elisabeth Moss did phenomenal. Aldous Hodge, who played James, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Michael Dorman, like even was it Storm Reed that plays the little girl? She was fucking great. Like I think the casting in this was superb. Like everyone did a really good job. Yes, there are some plot hole bits and stuff like that, but I'm gonna allow it. It's fine. It did what it needed to. It did what it needed to do. It made The Invisible Man interesting to me, I guess is the best way to put it. Like in no way did I expect this. Like, because I remember like Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon and stuff like that. Just like all the, it's just like it's just an Invisible Man. This I think had a lot more going for it, and I liked it. So yeah, 7.5.
What do you think I'm giving it?
I think that you're gonna give it like a 7.
I am giving it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it had a lot of good. Elisabeth Moss did a really good job. From the like right out of the gate, I really liked the beginning. How you're just once again dropped in it. That tension was there right away, where she's sneaking away from her boyfriend, where she's sneaking away from Adrian. I was okay with not knowing a ton of backstory because you get that in bits throughout. I thought that was nicely done, and it was like natural of where the mom or James is like, what's going on? What did he do to you? Like that's a very real way of bringing that information out. The plot holes were the biggest ones because they were so glaring, and the timing and some of it just I was able to pick up on that, and that was kind of a bummer. I am glad that they really at the very beginning hit home that he was this big wig millionaire scientist.
Yes.
And knowing that this is an H.G. Wells book adaptation helps with that too, because once you know like, oh, it's H.G. Wells, so of course there's going to be a sci-fi twist to it, because you didn't really know how I think if we wouldn't have known that he was a scientist, the suit would have been like chintzy, or it wouldn't have fit as well. But knowing that like this is his jam, this is what he does, that fits. So I thought that was really well done. Yeah, the cast was great. Like you said, it didn't feel like a 2-hour movie because I was so in it for so long. But the parts that I did start to falter were, surprisingly enough, they weren't the slow parts. I lost interest in like the fast paced, like shoot 'em up parts. Anytime that there's like a shooting chase, it's not for me. I would watch it again. I definitely wouldn't hit the same. I would definitely recommend this to people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of those twists. Yeah. And yeah, if like, where like gaslighting and stuff is something that's in my past. I had like shit. I enjoy movies like that because I'm kind of living vicariously through the main character, because there is always that revenge component to it, which is nice.
Yeah, it's like cathartic almost.
Exactly, yeah.
Cut his fucking throat like that.
Yeah, it's like, yes, no more.
I'm gonna frog that person's house and cut their throat.
Oh my god.
You brought this upon yourself.
I did. In the privacy of our own podcast recording.
Yes. So you're giving it a 7. Right on. So
giving it a 7.
IMDb gives it a 7.1. So what's that give us for our final score? So 7.5, 7.1, and a 7.
72.
Just shy of Hall of Fame territory, which I think is proper. Like this is, you will more than likely like this movie, and at the same time, I don't think that it's Hall of Fame quality. Like it's perfect. Like it's just like it's just right there. Like this is a 7.5 like poster child for what that is.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, it is homework time. For homework this week, we will be going to the year 2024. Oh,
hey, we're already here.
Oh, look at that. I don't even have to pack a bag. we will be watching the American remake of Speak No Evil. So there is a Danish one that came out in 2022. We will be watching the American one that has James McAvoy in it, that just came out this year. I believe it just came to Peacock. And that's why it got pushed to the front of the list, because it was like, we can keep it in this year and people can see it. So there we go. So yeah, we're going to be watching Speak No Evil for homework this week. So for Pot of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I am Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.